I am an army vet that started telling jokes in Afghanistan, and now I'm releasing my first comedy album to help fight veteran suicide. AMA. Hey everybody. My name is Pete Stiegmeyer, and I'm a stand-up comic who got his start by telling jokes around a garbage fire in Afghanistan. What started as a way to blow off steam and cheer up my buddies after patrols has turned into me releasing my first stand-up comedy album, PTSD. In it I cover my time in the military, but also my struggles with PTSD and the steps I've taken to seek help and get treatment. I'm hoping that it helps other veterans, or anyone struggling with PTSD, to destigmatize getting help for themselves, and that we can make a meaningful dent in the number of troops we lose to mental health issues every day. Also, it's pretty funny, and I've got a story about Screech from Saved by the Bell. Profits from the sale of the album will be donated to help fight veteran suicide, because that's literally why I got into comedy in the first place. PTSD comes out on November 11 because I love a good tie-in with Veterans Day, but you can pre-order it right now. So please, ask me anything, and if you need to talk, I'm here to listen to that too. Proof. Here's my proof. I guess I'll start by answering some of the questions I got last night from trick-or-treaters. Seriously, take as much as you want. You're like our second trick-or-treater. Yes, my dog is dressed as a hot dog. He doesn't like his costume. No, I'm sorry, this isn't the potato house, but you can take as much candy as you want. Let's say tomorrow you wake up and you're suddenly in charge of the VA. What are the first changes you would make? This is an incredible question. I think one of the main things I'd like to do is make it easier to process claims and apply common sense when addressing those claims. I lost an inch of height while I was in the Army, but my back problems are not service-connected, and I know a lot of other vets are dealing with the same thing. I'd make getting access to care easier as well, and I'd allow patients that are X distance away from their nearest centers to get treatment at closer private locations if that's a barrier to their care. I'd also make sure that veterans get adequate mental health care while in the service, so there's not a backlog of people trying to get help with no idea how. I'm not a policy guy, and these might not be the most effective ways to improve, but these have been some of the issues I've run into. What's your best Air Force joke? I think the Space Force holds that title currently. What's the best comeback line you used to deal with a heckler from the audience? Oh, that's a good question. Probably my favorite was when I was telling a story about my first time at a strip club. Pretty much as soon as I mentioned the strip club, some guy yells out, "I hope you weren't the dancer," and it got a few laughs, but I was able to kind of lean into it and said something about how disappointing that'd have been for everyone at the club if they were expecting some ripped Magic Mike guy. And instead out waddles Pretty Okay Pete, and everybody went nuts laughing. But then the guy yelled back, "You're not pretty okay." And I said, "I feel like there's a but coming, or is it just the mean part?" And he just kind of grumbled it was just the mean stuff, and then he was quiet the rest of the show. I liked that because it ended up turning into more material and helped me keep control of the show. I think a lot of times comics can get derailed pretty quickly trying to own hecklers, but honestly, I just try to move things along as best I can, and I'm lucky that I don't get very many hecklers since I stopped inviting my parents to shows. Yeah. Here's an Army one. A squad of Germans walk into a bar. There are no survivors. BAR in this case stands for Browning Automatic Rifle. I told you it's a bad joke, haha. I had 2 deployments, and each of them were very starkly different. The first was very limited firefights and a lot of IEDs, and the second was almost a complete 180 lots of engagements and mortar, rocket attacks, but very few IEDs. We suffered casualties on both deployments, but so did the people that lived near our bases. I honestly felt sick to my stomach seeing NATO and the US pull out like we did. We had great working relationships with so many interpreters, local national solidars, and families, and we should have done better by them. I know that we couldn't stay forever and that there was probably no good way to pull out, but I feel intense guilt and shame over the way it happened and anger at the government for essentially throwing them to the wolves. I'll try to return to this with a more eloquent answer in a bit.